There's a lot of noise out there about Social Security, but what's actually real right now? If you've heard talk that former President Trump just signed off on a new $2,000 Social Security check, you're not alone. Thousands of retirees, seniors, and disability recipients across the U.S. are wondering if this update will finally bring some financial relief, especially as living costs keep climbing and every dollar counts more than ever. So, here's the truth: no politics, no fluff. This November 3 road update isn't just another rumor. It's tied to legitimate changes being reviewed for Social Security, SSI, and SSDI payments, and yes, they could have a real impact on what you receive next month and into 2025. Over the past few weeks, proposals connected to cost of living adjustments, benefit increases, and potential supplemental relief checks have been circulating through key federal channels. Some of these updates involve re-evaluating benefit thresholds to match inflation and the current consumer price index, which means bigger monthly checks could soon become a reality for many Americans on fixed income. Now, before you start planning around that $2,000 figure, let's clarify what's officially signed, what's in motion, and what's still under review. This video breaks down the verified details straight from SSA releases, Treasury updates, and congressional records, so you'll know exactly who qualifies, when payments are expected, and how these potential adjustments could affect you personally. If you rely on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, this is one update you can't afford to miss. By the end of this video, you'll understand whether this new $2,000 payment is fact, partial truth, or political spin, and how to make sure you're not missing any benefits you've earned. Because for millions of Americans who built this country, real information isn't a luxury, it's survival. Now, let's start by cutting through the confusion, because I know how frustrating it can be when you hear one thing on social media, another on TV, and then something completely different from your neighbor or your cousin who heard it from a friend. The truth about this so-called $2,000 Social Security check starts with understanding how payments like these actually get approved, funded, and sent out. Nothing gets printed overnight, and nothing becomes law just because a politician mentions it during a rally or an interview. Every single change to Social Security, SSI, or SSDI has to go through a long and very public process, one that involves both Congress and the Social Security Administration. So where did the $2,000 figure come from? It's actually tied to several ongoing discussions about additional relief measures and cost of living adjustments, often called COLA increases. For 2025, the official COLA was projected to be smaller than last year, somewhere around 3.2%, based on inflation rates measured earlier this year. But as prices for essentials, groceries, rent, utilities, and healthcare continue to rise, pressure has been mounting on lawmakers to do more for older Americans who live primarily on fixed incomes. This is where the talk of a $2,000 supplement began gaining traction again, especially among policymakers who've been pushing for a one-time relief payment to offset inflation's impact on seniors and disability recipients. When reports came out that Trump had signed off on the payment, it caused a wave of confusion online. What actually happened is that he voiced support for a proposal recommending additional financial relief for Social Security beneficiaries, including those receiving SSI and SSDI. But the process doesn't end there. Even if a president signs an order or expresses support, Congress still has to allocate funds, determine eligibility, and pass the necessary budgetary legislation to make it real. So while the $2,000 figure is making headlines, the real story is about ongoing discussions at both federal and state levels to deliver meaningful help to Americans on benefits. What makes this moment different, and why seniors are paying close attention, is the timing. With the November 3 road update approaching, the Social Security Administration is finalizing its payment schedules for the end of the year. That means any policy adjustments or relief measures that get approved in this window could be reflected in the December and early 2025 payments. Historically, when additional payments or supplements have been authorized, like the stimulus checks during the pandemic, they were rolled out through the same systems that handle regular Social Security and SSI deposits. That's why people are watching their My SSA accounts and Treasury notices closely right now. Now, let's talk about how these payments actually work. Social Security payments are primarily based on your work history and the amount you contributed over your lifetime, while SSI and SSDI are designed for individuals who either have limited income or can't work due to disability. Any potential new relief, like a $2,000 check, would likely apply across these categories, but the details would matter. Eligibility could depend on income thresholds, tax filings, or even whether you receive direct deposit or paper checks. That's why checking your Social Security account online is more important now than ever. If something new is announced, your account will show the update before rumors ever hit the news. There's also been growing debate about whether the SSA itself has the authority to issue supplemental payments without full congressional approval. Some experts argue that under emergency provisions, like those used during the COVID relief era, limited supplemental aid could be distributed directly through existing SSA channels. Others say that without a new law, no large-scale payment like $2,000 could legally happen. Either way, this back and forth has made seniors anxious and skeptical, and understandably so. Many feel like they're being tossed around between political promises and bureaucratic roadblocks. But what's clear is that there's broad acknowledgement, from both political parties, that the current benefits system isn't keeping up with inflation, and that real adjustments are overdue. If you've noticed, the last few years have brought unusually high COLA increases, 8.7% in 2023, for example, which was the largest in over 4 decades. That bump was meant to help cover the skyrocketing cost of living that hit after the pandemic, but most seniors will tell you that it didn't stretch as far as expected. The price of food, medicine, and rent didn't just stabilize, it kept going up. So when you hear about another potential payment or adjustment, it's not coming from nowhere. It's a reflection of a real, growing problem. Americans on fixed incomes are being priced out of their own budgets. One of the things I always recommend is to pay attention not just to what's promised, but to what's actually filed in official records. The Social Security Administration posts every change, proposal, and update on its official site. You can also track legislation through congress.gov, where bills like these are published for public review. If a $2,000 supplemental check is ever formally approved, you'll see it there first with a bill number, sponsors, and an official rollout date. The reason this matters is because there are dozens of clickbait videos and fake articles floating around that twist partial truths into dramatic claims. But as of now, the legitimate news is that multiple proposals are being considered, some of which could include one-time relief for Social Security, SSI, and SSDI recipients. For those already receiving benefits, you might have noticed your payments have been consistent, hitting your bank accounts or prepaid cards on the same schedule as always, either the second, third, or fourth Wednesday of each month, depending on your birth date. That's good news, because it means the system is stable. The SSA has not reported any delays or disruptions. However, what could change soon is the amount. If any of the new relief measures get approved, seniors could see a noticeable increase either as a separate deposit or as an adjustment to their monthly benefit. This is why staying informed through official channels is critical, especially in the coming weeks. Now, let's look at what happens behind the scenes when changes like this move forward. The SSA works closely with the Treasury Department and the IRS to process payments. That's the same trio that handled the economic impact payments during the pandemic. If a new payment were authorized, those systems could easily be reactivated to send funds electronically, which is why some experts believe seniors could receive additional money fairly quickly once it's signed into law. The challenge isn't the logistics, it's the politics. Lawmakers have to agree on funding, and as of now, budget discussions are intense, with different sides arguing over deficit spending and social program expansions. That's slowing down how fast any new relief can actually reach the people who need it most. Still, optimism remains among many economists that some form of support is likely, even if it's not a flat $2,000 check. It could come as a smaller supplemental payment, a boosted COLA percentage, or a temporary tax credit designed to help low- and fixed-income individuals manage rising costs. The important thing is to understand that these discussions are real, ongoing, and documented, not just rumor. It's also important to be cautious of scams during this time. Whenever there's talk about extra Social Security payments, scammers appear, sending fake texts or emails claiming you need to verify your information to receive your money. The SSA will never ask you for personal details through text or phone calls. Any real update will appear on your official SSA.gov account or through mailed correspondence. Looking ahead, the next few weeks will be critical. November 3 road marks a key update period when the SSA finalizes payment schedules and internal adjustments before the end of the year. That's when we'll see whether the latest proposals translate into real-world benefits or if more debate is needed in Congress. Either way, it's a pivotal moment for seniors and disabled Americans who depend on these programs for everyday stability. The idea behind the $2,000 figure isn't just generosity, it's recognition that retirees and those living with disabilities have been carrying the heaviest financial burdens through inflation, and they deserve targeted relief. In conversations with retirees around the country, one theme comes up again and again: people don't want handouts, they want fairness. They want the benefits they earned to hold real value, not lose buying power every year. For many, the promise of a $2,000 check represents hope that someone in Washington is finally listening. Whether it arrives as one check, a COLA increase, or another relief form, the message is clear: America's seniors are watching closely, and they're demanding action, not promises. So, as we move through November and into the next payment cycle, the best thing you can do is stay alert, informed, and skeptical of anything that sounds too good to be true. Watch for updates on SSA.gov, check your My SSA portal regularly, and keep an eye out for official announcements through the Treasury Department or major news outlets like CNBC, Reuters, or the Associated Press, not random social media posts. Because when this change does come, whether it's $2,000 or a different amount, it will be publicly announced, verifiable, and traceable. And when it does, I'll be here breaking it down clearly, explaining exactly what it means for your wallet, your eligibility, and your peace of mind. At the end of the day, this story isn't just about a dollar figure, it's about trust. It's about knowing that after decades of paying into the system will show up for you when you need it most. And if that relief finally arrives, it won't just be money in your account, it'll be a long overdue acknowledgement that you matter, that your work, your contribution, and your retirement deserve security and respect. So, stay tuned, stay informed, and remember, real information always beats rumors. We'll continue tracking this closely as more details unfold after November 3 road, and I'll bring you every confirmed update as soon as it's official.